Hi. On today's Everyday Makers, got a Cricut project idea for you. Got my girlfriend a Cricut for Christmas and she loves it, and it's been giving us all kinds of fun projects we can do. So we're going to take a chunk of 2x4 and turn it into something you'll want to hang on your wall. Let's do it. Okay, first we're going to start off by resawing the 2x4. Just kind of a rough, dirty 2x4, and I'd like it down to a nice square stock. It's only about a 2.5 foot, 3 foot 2x4, but it'll work out perfect. Because I'm actually bringing it down, sawing off the corners originally, just kind of see what I'm left with. But I'm looking to go about 1.25 by 1.25 total. So that I can actually split out into 2 separate lengths after I get it resawn. So this is just basically cleaning it up. Now I can split it in half. And that gives me 2 sections to work from. I'm going to make this one an even 1.25 also. It ended up being a 1 3/8 or whatever. Now we got a matching set. Now I'm going to head over to the miter saw. Miter saw here, simple miters, cut in 45. But first we're going to start by getting rid of a couple bad spots. We've got plenty of extra wood here, so a couple bad spots on the ends we can chop right out. Now we're starting out with a 45 on the end, stacking both pieces so they're cut at the same time, so they're always matching. Now I'm going to measure about a foot. Just kind of an arbitrary number that I wanted to go with. I'm not trying to necessarily match anything, just that worked for me. And now the eagle-eyed view will see that I screwed everything up and cut my miters the same angle. So now I've got to flip it over and clean up that miter so that they're a match set versus 2 of the same. And now here I'm going to go with smaller measurement. I'm going with about 9 inches. Perfect. Back over to the table saw. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set it, I've got about 1.25 inches square. So I'm going to set this for right about 1 inch. A little bit less, right about 1 inch though. And that'll give me a 1/4 inch lip on the top that actually will make the frame that you'll see. And we'll get a 1/4 inch on all the outsides with almost 1 inch worth of that knocked out in the middle. So we're going to make, overall, we need 2 cuts. But actually right here, I'd set it a little bit low initially. I'd set it to just over a 1/2 inch. And that was not what I was looking for. So now I'm going to readjust. Now I'm going to go about 1 inch. Feed each piece through, all 4 of them. And then I realized that I wasn't right on that first measurement, so it's time to cut them again. So I'm just here going to verify that I have what I think I have. Pretty sure I set it to 1 inch, but just wanted to make sure, double check my numbers. Classic, measure twice, cut once. And now we'll slide them through and knock out that section. So you can see what I'm left with right there. Chopped out a section, so I got about 1/4 and 1/4 all the way around there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little lip for when you hang it on a nail on the wall, something for the nail to grab onto. It's kind of a thing I've just found works out really well and minimizes the need for any sort of an actual picture hanger. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to go up about 1/8 of an inch higher, actually less than that, about 1/16 of an inch higher. just to give it a little tiny notch. So I'm going to run all those pieces through, just a little notch. It's about a 1/4 inch in, and it's seriously a 1/16. Here's the worst picture ever on focus, and let me see if I can make that a little more easy for you to see. Perfect. Just makes a nice little notch. Okay, now we are to glue up. This is an extremely simple project. So we're going to make sure that everything actually cut like I thought it did, just double checking. And now we're going to sand down the edges, just knocking the edges off, nothing super special. Any little fragments, cleaning them up. I really hate sanding blocks, but for things like this, they're perfect. Just taking any burrs off, anything like that. And I am not putting any pressure at all on the sanding block. I'm basically just dragging along the outside just to catch any strays. Okay, now we're to glue. For this, I prefer to work out of a little puddle of glue when I've got little things like this. It's too messy to actually try and squeeze the glue onto the part. So a little puddle of glue and my trusty silicone brush, and we'll get glue on the ends. And this is something, don't be afraid to use some glue, but there's no point in just caking it on and letting it all squeeze out. So good coverage is good. And a little bubble of glue on top of that just to make sure you got something to squeeze onto the other part. And we'll work our way all the way around. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to use a strap clamp. This is a Harbor Freight strap clamp, but about everybody makes one and has one. If they make a clamp, odds are good they also make a strap clamp. These are wonderful for picture frames, anything you have to make that's a square, basically. If you're making a box, anything like that, strap clamps are great. They put equal pressure, or close to equal pressure, all the way around and give you a good tight pull in. You have to go through and adjust a little bit once you get them in. This is the time to make sure that all your corners line up. Once you see some glue squeeze out, go ahead and take care of that. This is the time where you still have time to move it around, but it's clamped securely. It's not going anywhere, so you can make those fine-tuned adjustments. And now we wait for the glue to dry. And now the glue's dry, we can come in and do a little more finishing on it. Pop it out of our clamp. And we're going to do a little bit of sanding. This is very, very light sanding. I'm not trying to shape it. I'm just trying to get a little glue residue off the top, things like that. Clean up some saw marks on the front. And from this angle, you can work it pretty good. I'm basically just using the weight of the sander. I'm not pushing at all. I'm just letting the sander ride along and do all the work. But from this angle, it works out great because even though it's thin, you've got the most amount of area touching the bench. You can work pretty nice. Once it comes to the sides and there's less area and more stress on the corners, then I go to the sanding block. And once again with the sanding block, I'm just dragging it over. I'm not trying to carve a new shape. I'm just cleaning up the edges, cleaning up any glue residue. Just a very, very light sanding. I'm not fighting to try and see how strong the corners are, just dragging it over. And now I'm hitting it with a little shot of air from the air compressor just to knock off the dust. try and get it a little bit clean there for getting ready for paint. Now I need to make sure what my measurements are in the middle, because we're getting ready to cut a bottom, or actually the whole face of the thing. So I'm double checking all my measurements, make sure I'm as square as I think I am, and I was within probably a 32nd of an inch, so I'll call that pretty square. So now that I got my measurements, I can head over to the table saw. This is a quick and simple, just I've got 1/4 inch plywood. It's actually slightly less than 1/4, I think, plywood. And I'm just going to make a rectangle. 2 simple cuts. And with any sort of plywood, take your time pushing it through. Don't hammer it through, and you can get a relatively clean edge. But this edge is going to be completely hidden by the frame. So if you get a little bit of tear out, it's not the end of the world. And I've got the piece of plywood cut. Double checking my measurements. Beautiful. Okay, back over our frame. Basically right now, just going for fit. I'm not attaching it yet. And it looks pretty good. I've got just a little bit of wiggle room on all the sides, which is what I wanted. It'll fit perfect. So now we come into paint. I like to use these little cutouts. They're actually the cutouts from the paint rack I made a few videos ago. They've been beautiful for little risers for paint. Just get it up off the desk so it doesn't stick to it. And I'm going to give this a real quick just clean up with sander, not necessarily sanding, just give it a little bit of tooth. Cleaning up any residue or anything that might be on it. And now we're going to go with a clear gloss lacquer. Lacquer tends to build up pretty good, so you can get a pretty good clear finish out of it. It dries relatively quickly, so I tend to use it quite a bit. And on this, I just wanted to darken up the wood just slightly and give it a gloss. I don't necessarily need a color or anything like that. I like the grain of the plywood, actually. It makes for a real nice background. And we'll take this off to dry. Now that that's set aside, now we'll move on to the frame. Some little supports here to keep it up off the desk. And now I'm going to use my good trusty Rust-Oleum enamel. I like this stuff. It just works well, covers nicely. I know it's more designed for metal and things like that, but I like to finish on wood. And it's reasonably durable and dries quickly, so I can't argue that. So I'll go through and give a nice even coat. We're going to give a total of about 3 coats to both pieces. So nice even coats are good. Don't need to really soak it right away, and it takes 6 hours to dry. Finished off one can, so moving on to the next can. Just doing little touch-ups any place that seemed a little thin. That inside lip. And that can sit and dry. Okay, now that we got about 3 coats on each, a little bit of light sanding in between each one, now we come to actually connecting our pieces here. But on this back panel, because I've lacquered over it and the glue doesn't really stick very well through lacquered wood, I'm going to shave off just a little bit of the lacquer all around the perimeter. Give myself just about 1/4 inch-ish overlay there of clean wood. So I'm going to take my sanding block and just do a handful of passes back and forth. Once again, not reshaping anything or anything like that. I'm just pulling the lacquer off the very perimeter. It'll help the wood glue bond better. Okay, now that I got that, just knock the dust off it. And we go to prepping the frame, getting the glue ready. Set that aside, get the pucks down. Perfect. Okay. Now we're going to glue the inside of the frame. Once again, this is something that does not need just puddles and puddles of glue. It's a simple connection. There's not going to be really any stress on any of it at any given time. So just kind of a nice even coat. Just put it on. The less you put on, the less you have to worry about squeeze out. So just get a nice even little coat inside. Just enough to adhere everywhere, but not enough to just squeeze out all over your piece. I had a couple parts that were a little bit thin, so I added a little bit more. It's always easy to add a little bit extra if it seems thin. Got a little bit of glue that popped out while I was brushing it in, so I'll take care of that before it even starts to set. And mate the 2 pieces together. And now we'll leave all this to dry. And after drying and a Cricut contribution from my girlfriend, here's what we're looking at. This is our finished product. Just a nice, simple project. Anybody can do it. A great use of your new Cricut if you got one for Christmas or something like that. Very, very easy. Nice gifts, nice things around your own house. Cheap and easy. 2x4 and a little bit of plywood. Looks pretty good. Well, I think it turned out pretty good. Looked great on our wall. Might actually give it to somebody else as a gift. I don't know. Might keep it for ourselves. But either way, I'm real happy with how it turned out. And it's a super simple and super cheap project to do. So it gives you some more ideas to do things with the Cricut and how easy it can be to use that in combination with basic woodworking. So let's see what you got. Post anything that you guys got ideas for in the comments, and we'll be more than happy to look through them and maybe add one to our list. Don't forget, like, subscribe, reshare. Remember, reshares are a big thing for us. Just lets people know that we're out here. So you might find somebody that just got a Cricut for Christmas that's looking for ideas and projects to do. This is a great one. Nice and simple, something anybody can do. So thanks again for watching our videos. We really appreciate it.